My parents failed me. I was exposed to a lot under my parents' roof. 3 of my uncles molested me constantly. I'm not saying one-time thing or two. It was constant. I think part of the reasons it was easy for these people to molest me whilst my parents were around is because they had noticed how
wahala no dey finish oh. Nollywood actress Chidera, also known as Dior Adiele, is currently trending on the internet as she calls out her parents, especially her mom, for all the terrible things they did to her while growing up. As in, you guys, the most disturbing part of her story is how her mom neglected her to the point that about 3 of her uncles molested her from the age of 6 while living with them. As in, this is a must watch for all parents, especially mothers, because you would definitely learn a lot. Meanwhile,
if you're coming across my YouTube channel for the very first time, you're highly welcome. Please kindly subscribe and don't forget to turn on the notification bell for latest gist and trending news as we continue to serve you with the latest. All right.
Now, for some of us who may not remember her, Dior Adiele is the same young woman who publicly asked for help a few weeks ago concerning her only brother, whom she said was struggling with drug abuse and had developed severe mental health problems. She's a Nollywood actress, artist, model, and an influencer. And she has acted alongside top Nollywood actors like Maurice Sam, My Godson, Jide Kosoko, and so many others. So yesterday, she called out her mom on social media, threatening her to leave her house because her presence was messing up with her mental health. But unfortunately for her, people started bashing her for calling out her mom in such a disgraceful manner. In fact, some went as far as cursing her out for bringing this kind of family matter to the media without them knowing the full story, until she made these videos revealing the terrible things she experienced under her parents while growing up. According to her, her mom sees her as the black sheep of the family, and because of that, she maltreated her at any given opportunity. As in, she treated her so badly to the point that one night she sprayed Cameroon pepper in her eyes and also used razor blades to forcefully cut her hair and her hands simply because she came back late. Guys, that was not even the most disturbing part of her revelation. Dior went on to allege that about 3 of her uncles sexually molested her when she was just a little girl. And according to her, when she tried to speak up about it, her mother did not believe her. Imagine being just 6-year-old, going through something so traumatic, and then feeling like the only one person who is supposed to protect you doesn't even believe you. And Dior didn't stop there. She also revealed how she started paying school fees for herself and her brother when she was just 16-year-old, as her mom made her believe that her dad had abandoned them, when in reality, her mom was the one squandering all the money her dad had been sending for their upkeep. She said a whole lot, including how she started smoking at JSS 3. In fact, just come down and watch this video to the end, guys, and please do what to let me know what you think in the comment section below as you do so.
3 of my uncles molested me constantly. I know a lot of you have been looking forward to my story times. Well, I wasn't going to talk about them anymore because a couple of people and family members reached out to me and said, hey, we understand your pain, but please do not say anything further. Let's just try and sort this out privately and whatnot. And I was actually going to conform to that and just, let everything die down. But my father, apparently he saw the video and he heard the part where I said that my parents failed me, and that got him really pissed off. And he came to me and he said, I'm giving the people the impression that he abandoned his family and that he's going to curse me and I'm not going to leave up to 1 year. He's going to give me 1 year to leave. And that was where I drew the line. That's where I drew the line. So I'm going to be telling you stories, and over time you can now tell me if my statement was wrong. I'm going to be talking. I'm going to be trauma dumping, because you know why? I'm already tagged the black sheep of the family. I'm already the problematic child. I've always been anyway, so it's not new to me. It's not new to me, but now I'm going to own it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm going to own it. I'm the first of 3. I have an immediate younger brother who's 2 years younger than me, which is the one I came to talk about. And then I have a sister who's the last born. She's almost 10 years younger than I am. And so for the longest time before she came into the world, it was just my brother and I. I'm from a typical Igbo home, and I say typical because it's like a norm, which annoys me, by the way. This whole patriarchy nonsense. But anyhow, my parents would not let me go out to play like a normal child. They will lock me in the house, or they will say, oh, you're a girl, you shouldn't be doing this or doing that. But they would let my brother go and play football. There was a lot of favoritism or whatever the word is pronounced as. They would, what the hell was that? They would let my brother go and play, hang out with friends, have his friends come over and all of those things. But for me, I was very restricted. I was such a restricted child. The only thing I was allowed to do was go to school, church. At the time I joined Scouts, they would let me go for Scout meetings and stuff like that. It was even a hassle for them to let me join Scouts. But anyway, that story for another day. Now, where my trauma started. I was a very opinionated child. I was very daring, very somewhat stubborn, but not stubborn in a way that was out of the world, just not your regular kid. My parents did not know how to handle a child like me. They just thought it was witchcraft. They thought I was possessed. They tagged me possessed. They would take me for deliverance and all of those things. I'm a creative. My mind did not function the way a normal child or a child my age would function. So for that reason, I became a child of a particular concern. I was a child who lied a lot. I lied a lot out of fear. I realized that each time I told the truth, I'll get beaten. But when I lie, I escape being beaten. So over time, I gravitated towards telling lies than the truth, because I know that if I tell the truth, I'll get beaten anyway. So what's the point of telling the truth? My dad used to beat me like a criminal. There was a particular brown couch that was my beating spot. He would lift me, throw me against that couch, punch me, kick me, use all manner of items on me. My dad beat me like he hated me, and this went on for a while. At every slightest provocation, my dad would beat the shit out of me. We lived in a very massive house. It was a house so big that when you speak, it echoes, right? And so they had so many family members coming into the house. They accommodated a lot of people. And it is in this accommodation that they brought in different family members that molested me. I was molested from the age, I think the molestation started from the age of say 6 or 7, and it went on until I turned 13 or 12. So I was exposed to a lot under my parents' roof. At this time, both of them were still married and still together. Three of my uncles molested me constantly. I'm not saying one-time thing or two. It was constant, because 2 of them amongst these 3 lived with us at different times. So it was something that happened, and my parents, they trusted these people. Bro, I think part of the reasons it was easy for these people to molest me whilst my parents were around is because they had noticed how my parents chastised me, how they treated me, and so they took advantage of that. And my parents also were not the kind of people I could run to express my pain, or even to tell them what I was going through, because I didn't think they were going to believe me. I didn't think they were going to take sides with me. It was that kind of household for me. My parents never told any of us that they love us. It never happened. To say, oh, I love you guys, never happened. Not my mom, not my dad. Whilst we were growing up, it never happened. My dad is a staunch Catholic and a charismatic member for that matter. And I remember I had witnessed him do something that was absolutely absurd. I was so disappointed, so irritated. I was young. In this time, I was not even I'm not sure I was up to 10. But I had witnessed this thing and it stuck with me. And so I started to grow hatred towards my dad, because I'm like, you outside, everybody sees you as a holy man, as a, and you do this. I was young, so I couldn't confront him, but my actions towards him, it showed. I was always irritated by his presence, and it went on for a bit. I remember how I said my parents did favoritism between my brother and I. I remember then, when I go to my parents to complain about something that my brother has done, how he hurt my feelings or whatever, instead of them to address it, they'll tell me, oh, Iwa Dani, can't you ignore your brother? You are the older one. Can't you he's your younger brother, he's your baby brother. And this went on for a very long time, to the point where I started to have resentment towards my brother. And so I decided to take actions into my hands. I will beat my brother at every opportunity that I get, especially on Sundays, because Sundays were the days where my parents were active Catholics. My mom was a CWA member. In fact, she was a secretary. My dad was a charismatic member. So they were always not at home on Sundays, but we would all go to church to get together, but then they would ask us to go home after church. So we would go home. It will now be just my brother and I in the house. And if my brother as much as breathes heavy beside me, I will beat him. Because, of course, I know that if I report to my parents for anything that he has done, they will not do anything. So my parents will come back and, of course, beat me for beating my brother without asking what happened or anything like that. And it became almost like a routine. People who lived in my compound, I lived and grew up in Akiode, Ojodu. So people who lived in my compound will attest to this story. I used to beat my brother to a pulp, and it was so bad that if I do not see blood, I will not stop. So this went on for a while. My parents said I was possessed. They did not see any wrong in the way they were parenting us, but I was a problem. I was possessed, so they would constantly take me for deliverance and all of those things. Fast forward to when my father left Nigeria. I was 14 when my father left Nigeria for the US, and like I said, I was afraid of my dad, but I wasn't afraid of my mom. And everything they were trying to save me from was already happening to me inside the house. I was being molested inside the house. I was already exposed inside the house. So by the time my dad traveled, I went wacko. I went into the streets. Well, not technically, but I was outside. I now then had a boyfriend who now started to show me things, and I started to learn things. And considering that I was the child who they locked in, people barely saw me, they barely let me go out. In fact, my friends who will come to visit me only came to visit me when my parents are not around, because if they see my friends, everybody's running helter-skelter. So it was that kind of toxic household. Now, my father is getting reports. People are calling my father, oh, I'm seeing your daughter in this place. I'm seeing her here. I see her hang out with people that she shouldn't be hanging out with. My father is getting all these reports. He's calling my mom. He's asking what's happening. Why am I hearing that Chidera is in this place or Chidera is in that place? Me, I was just like, you know what? They don't spoil me. I might as well just, yeah. So my dad will call me on the phone. Instead of talking to me like his daughter, like talking to me in love, my father will shout. They will call me all manner of names. There's nothing my parents have not called. There's no name my parents have not called me. But anywho, me, I knew who I was. I knew that I was not what they thought I was. But I understood their perspective, because they were seeing me in places I wasn't supposed to be seen and all of that. This is just me. This was a way of escaping my reality, because I couldn't even tell anybody what was happening to me in my home. So I was dying in silence, but I was just trying to be everywhere, doing everything. I started smoking in GS3. That was about the time I started to smoke. I became the problem of the family. My name was on everybody's lips. Chidera, 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 Chidera. Me, I did not even try to explain myself. Only me knew what I was going through. My mom stopped caring for me. Matter of fact, I do not remember. I'm 32 this year. I do not remember when last my mom bought me anything as her child, even from my teenage years, after my father left. So I started to make money really early. I remember that from SS2, I started paying my school fees, because from GS1, in fact, from primary school, I was chased home occasionally for not paying my school fees. When I entered into secondary school, the same thing happened. But sometimes when I'm chased from school, when I was in secondary school, I will not go home because of shame. Why am I going? When people see me walking into the streets with my uniform. Everybody expects me to be in school. So I would hide. I would go to different places and be. Now, my mom stopped caring for me. I started making money. Then I remember SS2, I paid my fees. I started paying my siblings' school fees. By SS3, I bought my WAEC form. I paid my school fees and all of those things. And this was how my life started. By the time I finished secondary school, my WAEC was once, thanks be to God. I wanted to go to Unilag so bad. And I said, if it was not Unilag, I'm not going to any other school. I wrote JAM the first time. I didn't get up to the cutoff mark. Wrote JAM the second time. I didn't get up to the cutoff mark. I'm like, shit. I remember my father's younger brother even coming to my father's house. Listen, my uncle, of course, had heard reports about me and the life I was living. Nobody in my family called me to sit me down, to talk to me in love, to say, okay, what is happening with you? This is not you. This is not how you used to be. What is going on? Instead, everybody was just trying to kill me. Because tell me why my uncle will come to my house, my father's house. He came in from China. I can never forget this incident. He came in from China. I opened the door for him and I welcomed him. Uncle, welcome. I went back into my room. The next one, he calls me to the living room. My mom was there. He stretched a jean to give to me. I stretched my hand out to collect the jean, and he looked at my nails and he said, "What is that on your nails?" My dad and his brothers claim that they don't like artificial things. They don't like nails. They don't like waist bead or leg chains and all of those things, but they do the worst fucking shit. I'm not going to go into details. But anywho, stretched my hand to collect the jeans, and my uncle is like, "What is this on your nails?" I said, "Uncle, it's my nails. I did French tips." And he's like, "Why? Why are you fixing nails at your age?" I finished secondary school. Oh. My mates don't enter university at this time. If not because, say, I won't go Unilag. And my papa no send me go private school, right? So I'm waiting for my choice, my school of choice. So he's asking me all of these questions. I'm like, "Uncle, I like nails. That's why I did it." And next thing he said, "I have to take it out." Mind you, I did these nails the previous day. I said, "Uncle, why? Why do I have to take my nails out?" He started yelling at me that why am I questioning? Am I questioning? He now ordered my Uncle Murphy, to get nail cutter. Uncle Murphy brought the nail cutter. My uncle asked me to stretch my hand out. I said, "I'm not stretching my hand out, Uncle. There's no reason why you want to cut my nails." The next thing, my uncle started to beat me. He beat me, forcefully cut out my nails, injured me. Even worse, broke a mopping stick bucket on my back. I still have the scar on my back. Broke a mopping stick bucket on my back. And my mom was right there. My mom was begging him though. My mom was telling him, "Please leave her alone. This girl, where you walk, she kept warning him. And he knew, because I got the temperament from them. They are all temperamental. And this man did not know that I knew a secret of his that one of my cousins told me, right? When I saw the way he was beating me and trying to literally kill me, there was blood in my eyes. He had broken mopping stick bucket on my back. I was bleeding on my back. Then I lost it. So I lost it, and I immediately said to him the secret that I knew of him. And he became very cold and shocked as to how I knew. And almost immediately he suggested that we sat on the dining table to talk. And in my head, I'm like, oh, this was an option before. And you chose to beat me like a... Anyhow, that passed. Remember that I said my father was in the know of all of these things. I'm not even going to sit here and discredit my dad, because he tried, right? According to what he told me, because I was in the middle of all of these things. My dad said he was sending money to my mom. My mom gave us the impression that our dad was not sending money, that he was still settling in and all of those things. First 2 years, we believed it. Over time, I'm like, what's happening? Like, why? We're supposed to be balling now. Our dad is in America. What's going on? Remember I said I started making money from secondary school. I had money from secondary school. Let me state clearly that I was not a prostitute. I never did drugs. I smoked. Yes, I smoked for a very long time. That was my vice. But I never did drugs. was not a prostitute. I was just a girl that liked boys, or that, just was wilding. So one time I remember that I wanted to make my hair. My mom wasn't giving me money to do anything. She wasn't even buying me and so I went to make my hair with my money. The salon was directly opposite our house. I finished making my hair, got back home by past 7 or so. I got home, my mom was in the kitchen. I greeted her. She acted absolutely normal. And I felt okay. Because at the time, I had a curfew. She had told me, wherever you're going to, you must come back to this house before 6. But the hair I made was wool. And everyone knows back then, wool used to take time. So I got home and I was scared that she was going to be mad. When I greeted her in the kitchen, she acted absolutely normal. So I was like, thank God. Maybe today she's not angry. Little did I know. So I went in, had my bath, went to bed. Only for this woman to wake me up with beating. And I was shocked. I was like, Mommy, what did I do? She started to question me like, where did I go to since morning? Why did I come home late? I said, Mommy, I went to make my hair. This is the evidence. You can call Auntie Comfort, because the lady who used to make my hair then was Auntie Comfort. You can call Auntie Comfort and ask. But I think she literally had her mind made up that day to beat me, because our living room was very, very large. So typically that's where we would run to, or I would run to when they're trying to beat me. So by the time I run the sitting room 3 or 4 times, they're tired and they decide to leave me or whatever. So I ran to the sitting room. I didn't know that she had already set a trap for me there. My mom had put Cameroon pepper in a cup and mixed it with water, put a belt and scissors. She had the scissors on the dining table. So I ran to the parlor, and she came to the parlor and she shut the door. That was when I knew that it was indeed a trap that I ran into. So I started to beg her. I was like, Mommy, please, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. But she wasn't listening to me. She said she was going to cut my hair. That hair that I made, she was going to cut it. I was in pain. It was wool. And this woman started chasing me around the living room. And then we were on opposite sides of the dining table when she took the Cameroon pepper and poured it in my face. And so it got into my eyes. And I was screaming. I was in pain from my hair, the pepper on my face, and then she now had the opportunity to come to where I was with the scissors. So while she was trying to cut my hair with scissors, I kept my hand up. I was begging her, Mommy, please don't cut my hair. I beg you, please don't cut my hair. And then my finger, this index finger, got into the scissors, and my mother cut my nail with the scissors. When she cut my nail, I started to feel my blood drop on my scalp. And I was screaming. I said, Mommy, you've cut me. Mommy, I'm bleeding. My mother did not stop hurting me. She was bent on cutting my hair. And so of course, she knew I was temperamental. I'm not going to come here and claim that I'm a saint, because I was I was an angry child. I wasn't born angry. They made me angry. And then I went to our shelf. There was a shelf we had. I punched the shelf and I took a glass from the shelf. I still have the scar. This is the scar I sustained from that shelf. So I threatened her that if she comes close to me, that I was going to use the glass to stab her. It was just a threat, just to be able to escape that moment, because I was swinging the thing like this. I said, don't come close to me, Mommy, don't come close to me. And she indeed came close, and I injured her on her arm here. She dropped and she said that I've stabbed her. And she started to curse me. She said my child was going to do the same thing to me. I ran out of the house. That, mind you, this was happening around past midnight. I had to go and find a way to wash my face off, but it's Cameroon pepper. Cameroon pepper of now is not what it was that time. But in this pain, I managed to pack stuff and I ran away from the house. People saw me at that odd hour. They called my dad and they said a different story to him. So the next day, I came back to the house with my family friends that I had run to theirs to beg my mom and ask for forgiveness. She said she forgave me. and we went past that. But then recently, I decided to ask her. I said, Mommy, do you remember when this happened? And she said yes. And I asked her, what was the reason you did that to me? And she told me that her own mother shaved her hair on Christmas Day. And I asked her, I said, and so you thought it was a good idea to pass on the trauma to me when I did not even do anything? And she didn't say anything else. So my daughter had seen the injury on her arm and asked her what happened to her. This was about 2 years ago. And I mean, she could have said anything else, but she chose to tell my daughter that I inflicted the injury on her. But she did not tell my daughter the part or what led to why I did what I did. And it really got me, I don't know how I felt about that. I really don't know how I felt about that. But I was really sad. I went to her and I said, why? Like, why? You see that I'm intentional with my child. I'm giving my child everything that you did not give to me. And you want to do this? I said, okay, no problem. I started ushering. From ushering jobs, I went into modeling. From modeling, I went into dancing. Like, I danced professionally for a bit. And then I started video vixen. Now, in my video vixen era, there were a lot of rumors. Because I never told my mom about my venture. She never cared much to know what I was up to. She just saw me as I was a rebel. You know, nobody cared to know what was happening in my life. So I was just doing my thing. And until she started to hear that I was on TV, people started to tell her, oh, we saw your child on TV and all of those things. I don't know. I don't know what she thought it was that I was doing with my life. Of course, there were rumors. There were rumors that I was sleeping with all the artists that I worked with. Now, I've worked with almost all the A-list actors you can think of. But I tell you here today, with my full chest, that none of them, no artist, no Nigerian artist that I've ever worked with, that I've ever appeared in their music video, has seen the strap of my bra. And I say this, and I dare any artist to come out and say that they've slept with me. Because I was very intentional I was never perfect, but I was very intentional about that. That was a very crazy era of my life, because everyone knows, oh, Chidera I've always been daring. I am not going to say I've always been daring. I've always believed so highly in myself. You can't tell me I cannot do something. It'll be jokes on you. A lot of people did not like that I was very self-aware from a very young age. So they saw it as a problem, right? Because you would not bully me.
Now, going by everything Dior said, I personally feel that there is a much bigger conversation here about parenting, childhood trauma, and what happens when children are punished instead of being listened to. Because yes, many of us grew up with Nigerian parents who believe that extreme punishment, beating, and strict discipline were the best ways to raise a well-behaved child. But discipline should never mean ignoring a child's pain, and no child should ever feel that they cannot speak up when something terrible is happening to them. So guys, after hearing everything Dior said, I wouldn't blame her, and I think her mom is not supposed to be entirely blamed until we hear her own part of the story as well. So do you think she was wrong for publicly calling out her mother, or do you believe there is more to her reaction than people initially understood? I really want to hear your honest opinion, so please let me know what you think in the comment section below. As you enjoy the rest of your day, stay beautiful and have a nice day. Thank you.